Hello, my English learners. Welcome. I am so happy to have you here today. Whether you're listening while walking, driving, cooking, or just relaxing, I want to say thank you for joining me in this podcast. It means a lot to me, and I'm excited to help you on your English learning journey. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something that many English learners struggle with: understanding native speakers. I know it can be tough, especially when native speakers talk so quickly, use slang, or speak in ways that can be confusing. You might be asking yourself, why is it so hard for me to understand English speakers? Or, how do I keep up with their conversations? Don't worry, my friend, you are not alone. Many learners feel the same way. But here's the good news. You can definitely improve your ability to understand native speakers, and in today's episode, I'm going to help you step by step. We'll break everything down, and I'll share some powerful tips that will make it easier for you to understand native speakers and to feel more confident in your English listening skills. So, let's begin. First, let's talk about why understanding native speakers can be difficult. You might think that just knowing the vocabulary or grammar rules is enough, but that's not the whole story. Understanding spoken English, especially from native speakers, is different because of things like speed, accents, slang, and connected speech. Don't worry if those words sound confusing right now. We're going to talk about all of them. Why is it so hard to understand native speakers? Have you ever had a conversation with a native English speaker and felt completely lost? You might have caught a few words here and there, but the rest of it seemed like a blur. This is a very common experience for English learners, and it happens for a few reasons. First, native speakers often speak quickly, and they don't always pronounce words clearly. They might blend words together, drop sounds, or use contractions like I'm instead of I am, which can make it hard to understand. For example, when native speakers say gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to, it sounds different from what you might have learned in textbooks or during lessons. Second, accents and dialects to make it more challenging to understand different English speakers. English is spoken all around the world, and every region has its own way of speaking. Whether it's the American accent, the British accent, the Australian accent, or any other, each has its own unique sounds, pronunciation, and rhythm. When you're listening to someone with an accent that's different from what you're used to, it can feel like they're speaking a different language, even though it's still English. Another reason why understanding native speakers is tough is that they often use slang and informal language. Slang words and phrases are common in everyday conversations, but they are not usually taught in traditional English classes. For example, if someone says, "What's up?" they're not asking for your opinion on the weather. They're just saying hello or how are you. Understanding these casual expressions is essential if you want to keep up with native speakers. Lastly, there's something called connected speech. This is when words are pronounced together so closely that it's hard to separate them. For instance, when a native speaker says, "I'm gonna go," the words are linked together, and it might sound like "I'm gonna go" instead of saying each word separately. If you're not familiar with this, it can make listening to fast speech challenging. But don't worry, all of these things are normal. Native speakers do not always speak perfectly. And with some practice, you'll be able to understand them more clearly. It takes time, but it's completely possible. And in today's episode, we're going to go over some practical tips and techniques to help you improve. Tip 1. Listen to real conversations. One of the best ways to get better at understanding native speakers is to listen to real conversations. This means listening to people speaking naturally, not just recordings of slow or scripted speech. Why? Because native speakers don't speak like textbook recordings. They speak quickly, use slang, and connect their words together in ways that might be new to you. So how can you do this? Start by listening to podcasts or YouTube videos in English. Choose topics that interest you, whether it's about sports or even cooking. The more you listen to natural conversations, the better you will get at understanding how native speakers talk. Here's a tip. Don't focus too much on understanding every single word. Instead, try to understand the general meaning of the conversation. The goal is to get used to the speed and rhythm of natural speech. If you don't understand a word, that's okay. Just keep listening and try to catch the main idea. Also, don't be afraid to rewind and listen again. It's completely normal to need to hear something more than once. Over time, your brain will start to get used to the sounds and patterns of spoken English, and you'll begin to understand more. Tip 2. Pay attention to accents. As I mentioned earlier, there are many different English accents, and each one has its own unique pronunciation and rhythm. The way people speak in London sounds different from the way people speak in New York or Sydney. If you're struggling to understand a particular accent, it's important to practice with that specific accent. If you know you'll be speaking with people from a particular region, like the United States or the UK, try to focus on listening to that accent more. For example, you could watch TV shows or movies that feature characters from that region, or you could listen to podcasts that have speakers from that area. The more exposure you get to a particular accent, the easier it will be to understand it. And remember, don't be discouraged if you can't understand everything right away. It takes time, and the more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Tip 3. Focus on the key words. When native speakers talk, they often speak quickly, but don't worry if you miss a few words here and there. The key to understanding is to focus on the important words in a sentence. Native speakers often leave out small words like is, are, or, the, or they may shorten them in casual speech. These small words are important for grammar, but they don't always affect the overall meaning of what's being said. Instead of stressing about understanding every word, try to focus on the key words that carry the meaning. These are usually the nouns, names of things or people, verbs, action words, and adjectives, describing words. For example, if someone says, "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries," you don't need to understand to or some, just focus on store, buy, and groceries. That will help you get the main idea. You can practice this by listening to a conversation and trying to pick out the most important words. Then, try to summarize what the conversation was about in your own words. This technique will help you improve your understanding of native speakers, especially when they speak fast or use unfamiliar vocabulary.